What if I told you the human soul isn't just for philosophers and priests anymore? What if I said it's something scientists can now actually observe and measure? Well, today, we're going to bridge that incredible gap between ancient mysticism and cutting-edge biology. You know, for most of history, things like spirits and souls were our best guess for explaining the magic of life itself. These days, we tend to file those ideas away as, beautiful metaphors or ancient myths, but definitely not science.
But what if we've been too quick to dismiss them? What if brand new evidence coming out of labs at places like Harvard and Stanford is actually proving that this ancient wisdom wasn't just a metaphor, it was literally biology? Let's dive in.
Okay, so we're going to start with some ancient Chinese concepts that for centuries have been written off as pure superstition. Let's kick things off with this idea of the seven Po. In ancient traditions, these were described as seven animal souls or spirits that basically governed our physical body. For hundreds of years, science had absolutely no category for this, just a big question mark, until now. And this is where it gets really good. This is where the mystical starts to look shockingly biological. So here it is, the big reveal. The seven Po aren't spirits at all. The claim is that they are seven distinct pools of interstitial fluid. Now, you can think of this fluid as the literal ocean that all the cells in your body are swimming in. And it turns out this fluid creates totally unique environments in different parts of our anatomy. So let's take the very first Po. And yeah, it's got a pretty intense name, Shi Go, which translates to corpse dog. In Taoist tradition, this was the spirit that handled all the sensations on our skin, and it was said to be the very first one to leave the body when someone died. Okay, now here's where your jaw might drop. The modern scientific identity of this corpse dog is the subcutaneous interstitial fluid. Yep, the liquid right under our skin. And get this, the sources claim that ancient practitioners could actually identify these fluids by taste. This one, since it's mostly filtered blood plasma, has a plain, slightly salty flavor. The corpse dog wasn't a spirit, it's the environment our skin cells live in. And this pattern, incredibly, holds for all seven. Just look at this map. You've got Fu Shi down in the abdomen, which they identified as sweet. Or look at Fei Du, that's the one around the kidneys. It has a pungent smell. Each and every ancient spirit lines up perfectly with a specific fluid environment that ancient observers could physically detect. They weren't tasting spirits, they were tasting biology. And the connections get even more precise. It's wild. This timeline shows the traditional order that the seven Po were said to leave after death. First, the skin changes color as the corpse dog departs. Then, the abdomen turns green. This ancient spiritual sequence is an almost perfect match for the modern forensic timeline of how a body decomposes. So it's pretty clear these ancient observers were onto something huge. But why does this fluid, this internal environment, matter so much? Well, modern science is giving us some absolutely breathtaking answers. Just check out this mind-bending quote from a recent paper by researchers at Harvard and Stanford. Okay, oncogenic identity is just a fancy way of saying being a cancer cell. So what they're saying is, if you take a cancer cell and you put it in the healthy environment of an embryo, the environment itself can force that cell to stop being cancerous. That's how powerful this fluid is. And this isn't just about chemistry, it's physics too. Have a look at this. These are all identical stem cells. You put them on a soft gel, and boom, they become brain cells. Put them on a gel with medium stiffness, they turn into muscle. On a hard surface, they become bone. The genes are identical. The only thing that changed was their physical environment, the Po they were living in. So this fluid doesn't just decide a cell's job. It can actually dictate its age. A recent study found that when you take old human cells and place them into a young, fluid environment, it turned back their epigenetic clock. That's the scientific measure of a cell's real biological age by an average of 25 years. The secret to youth wasn't in the cell's DNA. It was in the liquid all around it. And the evidence just keeps piling up. We've got experiments showing that giving old mice plasma from young mice extends their lifespan by a third. The Human Proteome Project is now calling our interstitial fluid profile a second health code, suggesting it might be even more important than our genetic one. Okay, so we have these seven distinct biological environments, the seven POs. But what organizes them? What is it that turns all these separate little pools of fluid into a single, whole person? Well, this is exactly where the ancient system brings in the concept of the Hun, or the ethereal soul. And hey, If the Po turned out to be biological, it kind of makes you wonder if the Hun might be too. So this new framework doesn't see the Hun as just one mystical thing, but as a three-part system. First, you have the innate Hun, which is basically our genetic blueprint, our DNA. Second, there's the acquired Hun, which is all about how our environment, our diet, our lifestyle, how all that shapes the way those genes get expressed. And finally, you have the master Hun, our consciousness, our mind, which directs the whole show. It's a model that beautifully integrates our genes, our environment, and our mind. So, what does this all actually mean for our health? Well, this integrated view might just be showing us the next great chapter in the story of medicine. For centuries, we've had two approaches running side by side. Eastern medicine has always been focused on the holistic system, the balance of all these environments, but that wisdom has been really hard to standardize. On the other hand, Western medicine has become incredible at microanalysis, studying every tiny cell and gene, but sometimes it loses sight of the bigger picture. The future, it seems, is merging the two, using our amazing Western tools to precisely measure and understand the very environments that Eastern wisdom has been describing for millennia. So maybe the ultimate takeaway is this. We've spent the better part of a century believing that our DNA is the sole commander of life. But it could be that our genes are just the script, and the real director of our health, our aging, and our vitality is the environment they live in, those 7 ancient pools of life that the Chinese called Po.